Hello learners and viewers, welcome to this session. In the previous session, we have discussed about women component plan and gender budgeting. In continuation of our previous lecture, today we will in detail discuss about the women component plan, how the transformation happened in India from women component to gender budgeting. Let me introduce the topic again. The notion of women component plan had entered the planning process in the 7th plan with the initiation of a special mechanism to monitor 27 beneficiary oriented schemes for women. This has happened in 7th plan. But however, in the 9th plan period, that is from 1997 to 2002, marked the significant progress in this regard. The notion of women component plan earmarked a clear, unconditional minimum quantum of funds or benefits for women in the schemes run by all ministries or departments that were perceived to be women related, and thereby recognize that prioritizing financial resources for programs or schemes for women is critical for women's empowerment. That is very important. It is very significant to allocate required resources, specifically financial resources, to address the women related schemes and programs. That is what happened in 9th 5-year plan. Based on this introduction, today this lecture's learning outcome is to discuss women component plan and to analyze the state of Kerala experience on women component plan. These are the significant learning outcomes as far as today's lecture is concerned. Under women component plan, both central as well as state governments were required to ensure that, I quote, not less than 30% of the funds or benefits are earmarked for women under the various schemes of the women related ministries or departments. There is no explanation, however, on how the Planning Commission arrived at this particular figure of 30% under the women component plan, at least not in any of the government reports or documents available in the public domain. The notion of women component plan was a precursor to the adoption of gender budgeting, which represents a much broader and profound approach towards ensuring gender responsive budget and public policies. Gender budgeting is widely regarded as an approach of looking at the budget formulation process, budgetary policies and budget allocations and implementation of those policies from a gender lens. This is very important. As a learner, you must understand that it is an approach. Gender budgeting is an approach, and in this approach, specifically we look into the budget formulation, budgetary policies and budget allocation of like, why do we need to do budget allocation? To implement of those policies from a gender lens. Gender budget with regard to the central governments or any state government as far as India is concerned does not refer to a separate budget for women. Rather, it is an analytical tool which scrutinizes the government budget to reveal its gender differential impact and advocate for greater priorities for programs or schemes directly benefiting women and better implementation of such programs or schemes. Thus, gender budgeting is concerned not only with public expenditures but also with the gender differentiated impact of revenue mobilization by the government. In fact, gender budgeting as an approach is not confined to budgets alone. Rather, it covers analyzing various economic policies from a gender perspective. On the other hand, the domain of women component plan. Specifically in this lecture, we are discussing how the transformation has happened from women component plan to gender budgeting. I have introduced the women's component plan as well as we have defined what is gender budgeting. Of course, in the earlier lecture also, I have explained in detail about gender budgeting. Again, for the benefits of our learners, I have explained what is gender budgeting. Let us now discuss elaborately about Women's Component Plan. And the domain of Women's Component Plan is restricted only to plan allocations by the ministries or departments, and the Women Component Plan provides a benchmark to assess the performance of ministries or departments in prioritizing planned resources for schemes which benefit women. However, information on implementation of Women's Component Plan by the various ministries or departments can play an important role in operationalizing gender budgeting, depending on the methodology adopted for the later. As far as 10th plan period is concerned, it is 2002 to 2007 marked another significant step forward as it envisaged, I quote, immediate action in tying up these two effective concepts of Women Component Plan as well as gender budgeting to play a complementary role to each other, and thus ensure both preventive and post facto action in enabling women to receive their rightful share from all the women related general development sector, I unquote. That is what mentioned in the 10th 5-year plan period, which is 2002 to 2007. The need for taking up gender budgeting was also recognized in the National Policy for the Empowerment of Women 2001, which observed, I quote, availability of adequate financial, human and market resources to implement the policy will be managed by concerned departments, I unquote, and that this process will include, among other initiatives, I quote, assessment of benefits flowing to women and resource allocation to the programs relating to them through an exercise of gender budgeting, I unquote. Now, let me explain the implementation of Women Component Plan. Report of the Steering Committee on Empowerment of Women and Development of Children for the 10th 5-year plan brought out an planning commission in October 2001. Henceforth, we call this Steering Committee on Empowerment of Women and Development of Children, indicated that the departments had in most cases included the figures for women specific schemes as the Women Component Plan inputs, while some departments had declared that their schemes were gender neutral. The report stated that although 12 central ministries or departments and the 4 state governments had confirmed their effort to implement Women Component Plan, it had not been possible to precisely quantify allocations under Women Component Plan. Based on its perusal of the implementation of Women Component Plan during the 9th plan period, the Steering Committee report had stressed that, I quote, the concept of the Women's Component Plan must not be abandoned or weakened merely because it was not operationalized effectively, I unquote. It is worthwhile to take a note of the figures in the 10th 5-year plan document with regard to the magnitude of plan allocations by central ministries flowing to their Women Component Plan during the 9th 5-year plan period. 9th 5-year plan period is 1997 to 2002. The information presented in the 10th plan document, specifically in chapter 2.11, Women and Children, page number 227. In this regard, indicated that the total magnitude of plan allocations flowing to Women Component Plan from Department of Women and Child Development and the 15 other women related ministries or departments, which included health, family welfare, education, labor, rural development of the central government, constituted rupees 51,942.5 crore, which was 25.5% of the gross budgetary support of the central government for the 9th plan. The allocations under Women Component Plan as the proportion of gender budgeting of the ministry or department in the above mentioned data was the high of 70% of the Department of Family Welfare, 50.4% for Department of Health and 50% for Department of Indian Systems of Medicine and Homeopathy. We could able to see that which are the ministries, they got the share from the allocations from the 9th plan period. However, the methodology through which these figures were obtained has not been put in the public domain. It is not clear whether these departments undertook benefit incidence analysis to arrive at the figures for their respective women component plans. Moreover, the entire gender budgeting schemes of Department of Women and Child Development for the 9th plan, that is 7,810.4 crore, was shown as it's flown to the women component plan for the 9th plan. It is worthwhile to note here that steering committee report had observed that steering committee report was published in October 2001. I quote, the share of the women specific programs constitute a fraction of the total fund allotted to the Department of Women and Child Development. During the financial year 2000 to 2001, out of total expenditure of rupees 1,335.9 crore in the department, expenditure on women specific programs was only rupees 115.7 crores. This constituted a meager of 8.57%. Also, 10th plan document in chapter 2.11 Women and Children, page number 253, observed that, I quote, the 10th plan also takes note of the overriding priority given to the programs of child development and the resultant intra-budgetary imbalances that exist today within the budget of the nodal Department of Women and Child Development, and suggests to rectify the same through a much more balanced distribution of resources between, I quote, empowerment of women and development of children, the two major responsibilities entrusted to it, I unquote. Thus, we find that the Planning Commission's assessment presented in the 10th plan document seems to have overestimated the planned resources actually flown to Women Component Plan by the central ministries during the 9th plan. However, the picture in this regard to implementation of Women Component Plan during the 10th plan as it emerges from the Planning Commission's midterm appraisal of the 10th 5-year plan, that is 2002 to 2007, is even worse. The midterm appraisal of the 10th plan, we call it as MTA, brought out in 2005, stated that, I quote, the most of the ministries and departments designated as women related have not separately provided the women's component plan and henceforth cannot be evaluated on their women's component plan, I unquote. The midterm appraisal reported that while the Department of Education has confirmed the flow of funds of 42.37% of its gross budgetary support to the Women Component Plan during the 10th plan years, the Ministry of Labour, which had earlier reported the flow of 33.5% of its GBS to the Women's Component Plan in the 9th plan, reported a flow of only 5% of its gross budgetary allocations to the Women's Component Plan in the first 3 years of the 10th plan. These midterm appraisals also revealed that the ministries or departments of agriculture and cooperation, urban employment and poverty alleviation, science and technology or biotechnology, information and broadcasting, non-conventional energy sources and small-scale and agro-related industries, which had earlier reported on the Women's Component Plan in their sectoral budget, had stopped doing so during the 10th plan years. This is the analysis as far as Women's Component Plan is concerned. This entire lecture we have got a reference from Subrat Das, Yamini Mishra, from Yojana, volume 50, October 2006, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, Government of India. Now, we have learnt about the Women's Component Plan. Let us discuss the experiences from Kerala. Kerala is the one of the state where it successfully implemented Women's Component Plan. In 1994, Kerala Panchayat Raj Act came into being after the enactment of 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act. Since 1996, the Government of Kerala initiated the decentralized planning process and 35 to 40% of plan funds were devolved to local governments with the mandate to identify locally specific needs, mobilize resources, plan and implement programs suited to each area locality. By transferring powers, responsibilities and by devolving finances to the three-tier Panchayat Raj institutions, Kerala has been also able to transform them into real institutions of local governance. As part of the decentralized planning, which was initiated in 1996, several steps were taken to ensure gender equity. They are, first one is that participatory study of the status of women in each area was made mandatory as a step to understand local specific issues of women and subsequent planning of relevant projects. Working group on women was initiated to formulate projects for women. It was directed to ensure women's representation should be there in all sector-wise working groups. Attempts were made to improve women's participation in Gram Sabha and focus on issues of women in discussions. 50% representation of women was ensured in subcommittees formed in the Gram Sabha. Out of the 2 representatives in each subject group in the Gram Sabha, one had to be women. These are the very significant steps as far as the Government of Kerala has taken. A chapter on women was mandatory in the report prepared on perspective on development for the local body and also in plan document. It was directed that in general projects, special considerations be given for women. It was mandated that at least 10% of funds be allocated for Women's Component Plan. Women's Component Plan is given priority in the decentralized planning process in Kerala. The Women Component Plan aims to provide a mechanism for special activities to ensure gender equity in the society and within the family. At least 10% of the plan budget is mandated to be set apart to meet the specific needs of women. Short and long-term strategies needs to be formulated, and that short and long-term strategic needs of women can be addressed through the Women's Component Plan to ensure the overall empowerment of women. It aims at promoting gender-related development exclusively to the women. This was considered more effective as they yield benefits to the women and children and the community at large. The money, that is whatever the financial resources earmarked for Women's Component Plan, is utilized by the local bodies to prepare projects that directly benefit women. It differs from what has been attempted till now on the following points. The basic concept underlining Women's Component Plan is that women development is not just providing income and employment opportunities, but also better health, education, physical environment, human dignity and freedom. Though broad parameters are laid down regarding the type of projects to be formulated, and the local bodies have a freedom to formulate location and need specific projects based on the felt needs of the women. Participation of women is ensured in all sphere of activities, be it in expressing opinion, formulating project proposals, monitoring or implementation. They were to be treated not as mere beneficiaries but partners in the development process. The local bodies were asked to set apart 10% of the grant in aid for Women's Component Plan. The local bodies have the freedom to increase the percentage or integrate it with its own funds while preparing projects. Thus, funds at the disposal of the local bodies for women development was uniform, and it was not based on the percentage of women below the poverty line. The review of the last decade of Women's Component Plan in the decentralized plan process in Kerala reveals the basic needs of the women have been recognized and met at the local government level. This was clearly noted by the study conducted by Baba Khan, Oman John, Leena Kumari in 2001. Projects to improve women's income and to enhance the status of women through adoption of non-traditional projects have been carried out in some areas. Before planning through women's component plan, gender planning, gender budgeting and gender auditing methodology was sorted out by the decentralized governance in different sectors, namely production sector, service sector and health sector. Very significant initiatives taken by the government of Kerala by implementing decentralized planning. Even in each panchayat, they could able to plan at the ward level, that is ward sabha. The ward members, they could identify needs of their wards and each ward will identify what are their needs. Once the ward level planning process is completed, the panchayat will integrate all the ward level plans, and these integrated all ward level plans finally plan as an panchayat's plan, and these each panchayat plans further integrated as the plan for the middle level panchayat. Finally, in Kerala, each districts they could able to plan at the district level. This is instead of centralized planning where the government of India they were planning through the planning commissions for the entire country. The government of Kerala could able to decentralize entire planning process. In this entire decentralized planning process, they could able to successfully integrate the women's component plan and they could allocate necessary financial resources to address the needs of the women. It's not about giving the basic needs at the local government level, for example, improving the infrastructure facilities and lightening of the roads. That will be also very significant because it could able to, once we brighten the pathways, it could able to reduce it is one of the factors to reduce the gender based violence. They could able to address the needs of the women in various sectors, whether it's a health, education or like employment opportunities, or providing benefits to the women in informal sector, or even they could able to women working in the agricultural and other sectors at the local level. That is the one significant points we need to take it from the experience of the Kerala. Second one is that usually the existing theories clearly point out that, and also the planning in the existing planning till 1980s severely criticized that women are not considered as part of the development constituents. Earlier, the women are considered as a mere recipients of the beneficiaries. This in the Kerala's decentralized planning process as well as integration of women's component plan, the women were considered as part of the entire planning process. They are not treated as mere beneficiaries but partners in the entire development process. As well as the local bodies were asked to set apart 10% of the grant in aid for women's component plan, and even the 10% is not it's not compulsory. Even if there is a need or necessity, the local bodies has the freedom to increase the percentage and to integrate with its own funds while preparing the project. And in this manner, the government of Kerala could able to successfully integrate decentralized planning as well as they could able to integrate both decentralized planning and women's component plan by bringing the planning process to the people, as well as they could sensitively allocate necessary financial resources to address the needs of the women. this is the very significant case study we need to learn when we talk about the women's component plan and gender budgeting or gender auditing methodology, as well as decentralized governance mechanism to address the needs of the various sections of the population. These are the some of the references. Based on the references, this lecture was prepared. Both you could able to understand the what is women's component plan, how the transformation has happened from women's component plan to gender budgeting, as well as we have learned the experiences of preparing decentralized planning and integrating women's component plan with the decentralized planning process. Thank you so much for listening this lecture. Thank you.